Welcome to today's video, which is a journal with me. I'm going to be drawing out my setup for August in my reading journal. What's great about having a reading journal is that I can track the books I read and have a nice setup to look back at each month. This month, like last month, I have a simple theme and setup, so let's get started. Having a bright and colorful setup for July made me want to continue that for August. When thinking about themes that can be colorful, I thought about flowers, so the theme for this setup is flowers. I originally had planned the cover for August to be 2 pages, where I would have written out August here and on the right page have flowers, but I didn't like how the flowers looked and wanted to keep this simple, so I kept everything on a single page, which I think was the best idea because I can draw a couple of flowers and not overcrowd the page. For the writing, I have bubbly letters. I wanted to have a colorful theme, so I am alternating between colors for each letter. To me, that gives this a playful look, which is what I am trying to go for. I am using a lot of colorful markers and having each of the spreads have a different color combination. For example, this spread I am using only pink tone markers, but the other spreads I am making will each have different colors. To Be Read is next, and I think it is a spread that works best when I have a single page cover, since it is where I write down books that I haven't read, so that I remind myself to read these rather than borrowing another book. This is also when I started keeping all my titles lowercase. When I was sketching this out, I noticed that when I use uppercase letters, they took up more space. I wanted to keep the whole title on one line, so lowercase letters work best. I freehanded the lines rather than using a ruler for the tables, which for me works best with the flower theme. Perfect lines would make this look clean, and I want the setup to look a bit off in a fun way. I had thought about using multiple colors for the flowers overall, but realized that that might be too overwhelming to look at, which is when I came up with the idea of focusing on 2 to 3 colors and changing the colors each spread so that way my setup would be colorful but not overwhelming amount of colorful. I added a kind of border at the bottom of the page. It's a way for me to draw more flowers without drawing flowers all over the page and maybe going overboard on flowers. Another table spread, books to borrow. Having a place to write books that I am thinking to borrow is helpful for me. I write all the books I haven't read and I'm thinking of reading here. Well, at least all the books I want to read, physical copies of. When it comes to writing out the title of each spread, I like to alternate the place of the title. The last spread had the title at the top of the page, so I'm going to have the title for this one at the bottom of the page. I feel that having the titles in the same place can be repetitive, so I like to have the titles in different places each time. Also, for each spread, I am changing up the flowers I am making in some way. From an organized layout, we are moving on to quotes. Since I use this to write down anything I found interesting in a book, I keep this a pretty blank spread. I write out quotes and then add a couple of flowers to not have this completely empty. And that's about all I do for spreads that are similar to this one, where I don't really have anything I need to plan or organize or have a list of. If it's going to be me just writing whatever I want, then I don't really need a structure to it, which is why I just leave it blank and I can just fill it out as I go. Next is Reading Tracker. It's nice that I chose not to outline the letters. I just have to write out all the letters and that is all. The colors that I chose for the spread is pink and blue, which I really liked. Having the extra half page that I cut out for this calendar works great. I can have more flowers and extra space in the calendar without having to worry about running out of space or having a cluttered spread. Then I am drawing a different type of flower that kind of looks like a clover. Also, I made another border pattern on the left side of the page. I thought it would give a nice touch to the calendar. August Books has half a page because I don't need a lot of space for this. Similar to quotes, I use this to write out the books I finished this month, just so that I can have a place I can look back at and see the books I read each month. So this is super simple and quick, and I am just writing August Books and adding some flowers around the page, and then I will be done. Then it is book log. I went back to having 2 logs rather than 1, so I'm using 2 pages for this. I prefer having 3 lines or 2 lines to write in each of the book's information, and harder for me to run out of space to write in. When I have 2 lines per book, just 1 log works well, but when I have 3 lines, I don't have as much space in 1 log, which is why I add another log. Also, all the books that I write down in the log aren't only the ones that I finish. I write down any book that I start, even if I don't finish it, which is why I like having an extra log to write in if I run out of space in the first one. I messed up when cutting out the side of the page, so I didn't have an extra space for the log on the side. For that reason, I had to be careful with not crossing over onto the previous spreads I made. For overview, I am using different blue tone markers. The markers actually look very similar to each other, that the contrast between the letters isn't as strong. I've noticed that having 2 pages for this was too much space for me, that it made me feel that I had to fill in any empty space that was left. So to not have to worry about having too much space, I cut out about half of the page on the right. That way I will have just the right amount of space for my overview and I can use the pages for other spreads. I am making the same tables that I always make for my overview. My favorite flower I drew for the setup are the ones that I'm completely coloring in, that I make the flower shape and then color in the whole flower without a problem. They are easy to do and they look so nice. Having realized that the markers I chose were very similar, I added a purple marker for drawing some of the flowers, just so that the spread has a pop of color in it. I am using the back of the half page I have for most liked and least liked books of the month. I rather use half a page rather than a whole page for this, so the cutout for overview worked great. For any spreads where I write whatever I want, I don't like to have a structure to it, so this is no different. I am just writing out the titles and leaving as much empty space as I can so I can use that space to write down my thoughts on the book. Now for the last spread for the setup. It's reading notes. Typically I have 2 pages for the spread, but I had 1 page for the cover, and up to this point I had an uneven amount of pages. So I didn't want to leave this page empty, just so I can have 2 pages that face each other. If I do end up running out of space here, since this is the last spread I am working on, I have a lot of blank pages after this that I can use to write in if I run out of space here. This is where I write down any thoughts I have on the books that I'm reading, or just any thoughts in general I might have about reading stuff that I am. Not adding a lot of flowers to this, I did make a border kind of thing to the top of the page. Well, we're at the end of the video now. Overall, this has been a pretty simple setup that I have enjoyed making. I like making the different flowers for each of the pages. It was nice coming up with a different way to draw the flowers each time. Thank you so much for watching to this point. Goodbye, and until the next video. I don't think you can see in the video, but Blobby is at the top right corner of this video. So, a goodbye from Blobby as well. Goodbye!